somewhere in rural Japan, 1987. A Ryokan, a traditional Japanese inn, was completely destroyed in a single night. By professional wrestlers. And the most famous eyewitness accounts of what happened came from men who weren't even there. This is the legend of the Ryokan Incident. To understand why a group of grown men tore apart a countryside inn, you need to understand the war that was quietly being fought inside New Japan Pro Wrestling. On one side, the Honbu, the traditional faction, the old guard. On the other, UWF, a splinter group built around a philosophy of brutal, legitimate-looking combat. Hard kicks, submission holds, no theatrics, no compromise. These two factions trained together, toured together, shared locker rooms. And they absolutely could not stand each other. Into this powder keg walks Sakiguchi Seiji, veteran of veterans, vice president of the company, and apparently the most optimistic man in the history of professional wrestling. His solution to the faction war? Let's all get together, share some drinks, make peace. He organized a banquet. Dry, almost to himself. At a Ryokan. The evening begins. Food is served. Drinks are poured. Fujiwara Yoshiaki, veteran submission specialist, and a man who operates on his own frequency, has personally prepared garlic and wakame seaweed soup for the table. This is a detail that I think about more than I should. For a while, things are fine. And then they are not. Maeda Akira, the undisputed ace of UWF, and a man who carries himself like the floor should be grateful he's walking on it, gets into an argument with Mutoh Keiji. Mutoh, 24 years old, the future of New Japan, a man who will one day be one of the greatest pro wrestlers who ever lived. At this moment, however, he is drunk and being challenged. Maeda looks at him and says, "Hit me." Now, the correct response to this, from any reasonable human being, is to decline. Mutoh is not a reasonable human being. He is a professional wrestler at an open bar. He says, "And this is real. I can't hit a senior. I respect you too much." He takes 3 steps back. He gets a running start. And he hits Maeda with everything he has. Maeda, who it should be noted did ask for this, does not appreciate it. He takes Mutoh to the ground, and he starts working. The witnesses describe Mutoh's face as changing shape. At some point, Sakiguchi Seiji, the man who organized this peace summit, sees what is happening to his investment in interfaction goodwill. He charges, and when Sakiguchi hits the room, a large circular banquet table leaves the ground. Slowly, completely, leaves the ground. What follows is not something that can be cleanly described. Multiple fights, broken furniture, The kind of chaos that can only be produced by a building full of professional athletes, unlimited alcohol, and 2 years of suppressed faction rivalry. Morning comes to the Ryokan. The damage is significant. Mutoh finds Maeda. His face is badly swollen. Maeda's is too. Mutoh looks at him and says, cheerfully, "Your face is swollen." Maeda looks back and says, "So is yours." And that is how it ends between them. When the wrestlers check out, the Ryokan staff, who had greeted them warmly the night before, are nowhere to be seen. Not a single person comes to say goodbye. I think that's the right call. Here is where the story becomes something else. The Ryokan Incident doesn't become a legend just because of what happened. It becomes a legend because of how it was told. And it was told, most famously, by two men. Furuhashi Ichiro, one of the most celebrated sports commentators in Japanese history. Voice of a generation. A man who could make a handshake sound like a heavyweight title fight. And Hashimoto Shinya, Three Musketeers generation. Future IWGP champion. A man as big as a building and twice as loud. Between them, they produced some of the most vivid details of the Ryokan incident. Furuhashi described vomit cascading down the staircase, step by step, like a river. He described Inoki Antonio surveying the destruction and saying, calmly, "Should I just buy the whole inn? 8,000 man yen. I'll take it." Hashimoto told the story of the Ryokan's proprietress, the Okami-san, weeping, begging them, "Please, never come back." These are incredible details, vivid, cinematic, exactly the kind of details that make a story real. Neither Furuhashi nor Hashimoto was at the Ryokan that night. Not in the building, not in the town. They heard the story. They improved the story. And they told the improved story as though they had lived it. And everyone, every single person who heard it, wanted it to be true. This is professional wrestling, where the line between what happened and what should have happened gets blurry very fast. Where a good story, told with confidence, becomes the truth. Where two men who weren't in the building end up being the ones who made the building immortal.
If this ain't heaven, it'll do for today.
The Ryokan is gone now, or at least, it's no longer what it was. The factions eventually dissolved. The wars ended. Some of these men became legends, some became ghosts. But the story remains. Garlic wakame soup. A circular table. Airborne. A swollen face. Then another swollen face. Then laughter. And somewhere in there, a woman who worked very hard to run a beautiful inn, watching a bus of professional wrestlers disappear down the road, and not lifting a single finger to wave goodbye. I don't blame her.